It's Top 5 Tuesday. Today I'll be giving you my top 5 breakout candidates for the Mariners in 2025. And Colby will list his 5 favorite hats in Major League Baseball coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. This is Ty Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's Top 5 Tuesday, and the wheel has spoken, folks. I'll be doing my top 5 breakout candidates for the Mariners, while Colby will give you his top 5 favorite hats in Major League Baseball. We will also be unveiling our newest giveaway at the end of the show, so be sure to stick around for that. But before we get into all that, shout out to our title sponsor today, Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, that's LOCKEDON MLB, for $20 off your first purchase. What time is it, Colby?
12:42. Game time. Game time.
There you go. And if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, yeah, you absolutely nailed it. Check out our Patreon. All you have to do is click the link in the description of this episode. So, top 5 breakout candidates for the Mariners in 2025. That's what I've been tabbed to list here on today's show by the helm. There's a lot of different ways that you could go about this. I think, though, when you hear the words breakout candidate, you kind of think of someone like Victor Robles. Maybe not to the extreme that Robles broke out too, but someone that just comes out of completely nowhere, has a huge season. I'm not sure if I see anyone that necessarily fits that bill in the Mariners organization right now, or someone that I can confidently say is gonna go from here to all the way up here. So like Colby, I've had to set my own parameters for this. And I'm going to have to stretch things a little bit here. I mean, the first 2 guys on this list are a bit more traditional breakout candidate types, whereas the other 3 kind of. The other 3 I'm going to have to stretch things quite a bit. All right, so let's get into it. Number 5, Brandon Garcia, and this is not as a starter. This is as a reliever. Obviously, there's a lot of things that have to happen for Garcia to actually make an impact as a starter this year. I mean, right now, it requires an injury for him to even be under consideration, and then at that point, there's no guarantee that he's the first guy to get called up. It could be Emerson Hancock. It could be Logan Nevins. It could be Michael Morales. But pitching out of the bullpen is something that Garcia has done in the past at Texas A&M before he was drafted by the Mariners. And this is a sinker, cutter, slider pitch mix that I think could play pretty well out of the bullpen. Obviously, lefty arm. And I think Garcia is someone that we could look up at the end of the year and go, yeah, he established himself as one of the dudes in the Mariners bullpen. And as the go-to lefty out of the Mariners bullpen this year. So, yeah, Garcia, I think not a lot of people are thinking of him as a reliever right now. But I think he could establish himself as a dude that the Mariners don't really have right now in their bullpen. Like, Taylor Saucedo isn't a go-to lefty in the pen right now. Gabe Spire isn't that guy either. I think Garcia, there's the potential for him to be that guy. So, yeah.
Sure. Top 5 breakout candidates on the Mariners, and you go with a guy who's not on the 40-man. That's very on brand for you filthy cheater.
He's in the Mariners organization, Colby.
But he's not on the Mariners. Nor is he, you have to make another roster. You have to make 2 roster moves to get this guy to Seattle.
Yeah.
That's stretching it about as far as you can. We'll see if Garcia can take that step. I'm sure, the Mariners are going to hold off converting him to a reliever as long as they can. And the conversion there might only be for a couple of months, and then they put him back in the rotation. It's certainly interesting. The slider and the cutter are both legitimate weapons. It's an interesting pitch mix, slider, cutter, sinker. nothing with much like arc, if that makes sense. Like no curveball, no changeup, nothing like that. And so it's kind of an interesting, arsenal for a starter to have. And if he's going to come up with a bullpen and it's really just cutter and slider, or just mostly slider or cutter, whichever one he deals better with that day, it could play pretty interesting. And the Mariners don't really have that dominant lefty. Gabe Spire can be, like he has the stuff to be. He's just, got hurt last year and hasn't really done it. So he's pretty good against lefties, but you kind of need a guy who's good against lefties and righties. There's no loop anymore. So Garcia is interesting. He could make an impact next year. Certainly he's one of the 5 prospects most likely to make an impact on the 2025 Mariners, but breakout candidate, feels like a stretch since he hasn't broken in.
I'm not getting on the show and being like Ryan Bliss is going to be a 3.5 win player this year.
You should, because you can't break out until you've broken in. You know what I mean? And he hasn't broken in.
I guess. I don't know.
But whatever. You're qualifiers.
I think for me, it's more about relative to expectations.
Okay.
And Garcia, for me, I think a lot of people look at him and they go like, oh yeah, he might start a couple of games this year.
I look forward to George Kirby being number 2 on your list. That's all I have to say.
You've seen through me, but we'll get to that.
Nailed it. And I know who number 1 is too.
We'll get to that. Stop spoiling my list.
Should I just spoil the rest of the list?
No.
Because I know who number 4 is. I could probably piece together 3, 2, and 1.
Well, number 3 is someone that you already guessed. Number 2 is the mystery guy for you. Yeah. So, all right, coming in at number 4, who Colby, you already know. Cole Young. Yes, another guy that's not on the 40-man roster. Whatever. Shut up. Young has been really good at every level of the minors. This year, he was the youngest player in Double-A. And was really good. He didn't dominate, but he was really good. 271, 369, 390. It's a 119 WRC plus. 9 homers, 57 ribs. He stole 23 bags. He didn't strike out really at all. 12.1% walk rate. Really good year for Cole Young down in Double-A. And I'm going to say that he does carry that into the majors at some point this year. I don't know if he's going to do it right out of the gate. Doesn't seem like that's going to be the plan for him. Seems like he's going to start the year in AAA, from what Justin Hollander had to say at the GM meetings. But I think he's going to continue on that trajectory into the major leagues. And I think he is going to be that dude that just kind of, he comes up and he already establishes himself as an everyday guy. He's going to be a 2-win caliber player. And finally breaks the second base curse the Mariners have had.
Yeah, to quote Billy Bob Thornton playing Coach Gary Gaines, ain't no such thing as curses. But,
yeah.
Yeah, Cole Young, pretty impressive, year in Double-A. One of the youngest, if not the youngest hitters in the Texas League. Was never really like a force down there, but again, at 20 years old for most of the season, to hold your own, to put up pretty good numbers, to go through struggles and come out of them, and all the stuff that you have to learn how to do when you're, a phenom. Like Cole Young's been the best player on every field he's played on, for most of his life. And so for him to finally struggle and work through that and get through it and also mature a little bit. There was a time he got benched for not running out like a fly ball, and he had to come back from that and he had to work from that and he had to earn trust again. And so these are all very good things for a 20-year-old to go through, to have some failure, but overall have relative success. It's one of the things that Jared Kelenic never quite figured out. So it's good for him. It was a good year for him overall. The power, I'm not too worried about it. Cole Young was never going to be a 25 home run guy anyway. So yeah, it's certainly possible that he comes up and he has a major impact. It does sound like he's going to start the year at AAA Tacoma, and that Tacoma roster might actually be a lot of fun to start the 2025 season. We're probably talking Locklear, Ford, maybe Young, Bliss, probably maybe Logan Evans. I know they don't like to go to AAA with their starters, but Evans and Garcia possibly in that rotation. It should be a pretty fun roster. But Cole Young is a guy who could come up and have a real impact, over the course of 2025. It's just probably going to be no sooner than June would be my guess.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'll be going over my top 3 breakout candidates for the Mariners here in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Gametime. So I used to live in New Mexico, and down in New Mexico, there are 0 pro sports teams, and a lot of bands and artists that I listen to skip going there more often than not. So when I moved to Toronto, where there's a baseball team, a basketball team, a hockey team, even a soccer team, and there's great music being played every night in the city, I was right in my element. When I want to catch a ball game or my wife and I want to see a band, I always get my tickets through Gametime. And that was the case well before Gametime sponsored our network and before I even joined the network, because it is truly the best ticketing service out there, hands down. I truly believe that. And now it's getting even better thanks to Gametime Picks. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I can just go on the app, it'll show me the best deal right away, it'll show me the exact view I'll have, and most importantly, it'll tell me exactly what I'm going to pay with Gametime's all-in pricing, so there are no annoying little fees that pop up at the last second. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, that's LOCKEDONMLB, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. I am going over my top 5 breakout candidates for the Mariners in 2025. Just did numbers 5 and 4, Brandon Garcia, Cole Young. Now we're getting into the portion of this list where I really got to stretch things. Coming in at number 3, Cole, you already spoiled it, George Kirby. What do we always say about George Kirby? He needs an out pitch, right? A more consistent out pitch. He needs to miss more bats. I know it's crazy to put a guy that has posted consecutive 4-win seasons on a breakout candidate list, but I legitimately believe that if he does establish more of a swing and miss pitch, a more consistent out pitch, that he can go from being really good to like one of the best in the world.
I mean, it's really, when you think about it, like just in a big picture sense, do you feel like George Kirby got better in 2024 than he was in 2023? Because I don't know if he necessarily took a step back, but I don't see how you could say he actually got better than he was in 2023. So yeah. I think, to be generous, you say he's stagnated, which might mean he's peaked. But it does feel like there's another step there to take, because, you know, the command and control is so good that, you know, if the stuff was just a tick better, you know, and there's other things that George can work on that we're not going to get into here. We've talked about it a lot. But if he could just develop, you know, just get a little bit of a bump to his stuff, like half a grade, not even a full grade, but if it's just, you know, more 52s instead of 50s, then that command is going to really play up even more. And so, yeah, he does have an opportunity to take another step. And so far he hasn't. He's kind of plateaued over the last 2 years, which is, you know, he's plateaued into a very good pitcher, but not what he can be. I think there's a Cy Young future for George Kirby that he can tap into, and he hasn't yet. He's stagnated a little bit. So, I mean,
couldn't we say that Logan Gilbert kind of broke out this year as well?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. So I don't think there's any reason to say that Kirby can't do so in similar fashion as well. Yeah. And, you know, for Kirby, it's not just the out pitch element of this. It's also, you know, not letting things unravel too much on the mound for him as well. We saw that quite a few times, or happened quite a few times this year.
Yep. Pitching
and
through
also,
adversity.
you know, we know this guy has like 1 billion pitches. Like, it does give off a little bit of a, you know, jack of all trades, master of none type of vibe. All right. So number 2, want to take a stab at who it might be, Coley?
Woo.
Yes. Is Brian Wu. You know me too well. Yeah, as we all know, Brian Wu, my favorite pitcher to watch in all of baseball, not just on the Mariners, not just in the Mariners rotation. Obviously had a really good year, dealt with the arm stuff earlier on, but was able to shake that off. And they kind of let the leash off of him towards the end of the season. And he was able to, you know, go 7 deep a few times and consistently went 6. And for as good as, George was with the command and control, Wu was that much better. 0.96 walks per nine this year. Didn't really strike out that many guys. 749 Ks per nine after 955 Ks per nine the year prior. There's still room for Brian Wu to grow because, again, we did see some interesting stuff out of his secondaries this year, but would like to see those pitches take at least one of them take another step forward, and I think they can, because really it's still fastball, 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 fastball. That's really his game plan at the end of the day. He might switch it up on occasion depending on the matchup, but would like to see that be more of a consistent thing for him from start to start to start. Now, there still might be starts where, look, all I need is my fastball. I'm just going to attack them, right? And both of those fastballs, the 4-seamer or the 2-seamer, they are really, really good pitches, so I don't blame him for doing that, for wanting to do that at least. But yeah, I just want to see Wu become more of a refined pitcher. I think that's going to happen, and I think Wu is going to go from... I think there's no reason to think that he can't have a similar jump to what Bryce Miller had from 2023 to 2024. So
sure. A lot of that is just going to be how available is he? Because if Wu just, makes 30 starts, then he's going to have a breakout compared to what he's done so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, if he can find the missed bats that he had in his first year, and he can combine that with the walk rate that he had in his second year or anything close to that, then we're talking about a Cy Young candidate. So yeah, Wu is probably the most obvious candidate. I think regardless of what qualifier you want to use when you make this list, like Wu's probably on it just because we know how good he can be. And really the only thing that's held him back so far has been health more so than, he hasn't stagnated, right? He's continued to develop, and you see new stuff seemingly every single start. You'll see a new wrinkle here and there, even though the formula is still very much the same. So yeah, Wu is a guy who just makes a ton of sense in any context for a breakout list.
Number one is very simple. It's Julio. It's the same conversation we have pretty much every offseason about Julio. Mm-hmm. We have seen glimpses of him being the baddest dude on the planet. There's no reason to think that he can't be that over a more extended period of time. And I think that it really is only a matter of time. I know there's a lot of people out there that think like, oh, this is just who Julio is. He's 23 years old. I think it's irresponsible, frankly, to say that this is just who he is. And maybe it is who he is, right? Maybe that is the case, but I don't think we can definitively make that statement at this current period in time of his career.
Yeah, I think, people are quick to write off Julio as like, yeah, he's fine, but he's never going to break out. And there are some people who even like Julio's kind of entered that like Bryce Harper range where it's like the guy can be incredible, but because he's not the best player on the planet, like people are like, oh, he's kind of a disappointment. And it's like, really? Because we just saw the worst year of his career, and he was like a 4-win player. Like, and this guy who's already put up, 5.5, 6-win seasons, depending on what WAR you want to use. He's an elite center fielder defensively. He's got tons of power. He's got great instincts on the bases. He's got a 30-30 season under his belt already. This is a guy who, again, just 23 years old. And yes, there was a kind of a bit of disappointment in the year that he had this year, because this kind of was setting up to be the true breakout. And it wasn't, but for the last 2-3 months, he was very, very good. And I think he can sustain that for 6 months. And it's not that he has to be, August 2023 Julio for 6 months to break out. If he's just Julio, the Julio he was from July 1 to the end of this year, like that's a breakout, because that's a 160 WRC plus guy with his defense, and he'll be healthier with his defense and his base running. That's going to be an 8-9 win player. So yeah, Julio breaking out is not, a shock whatsoever. And it's scary to think that a 23-year-old who's already put up, I think, about 16 WAR in his career, roughly, is still, we're still sitting there going like, yeah, there's more in the tank. There's absolutely more in the tank. So yeah, Julio, no brainer. He is going to have a year. I don't know if it's going to be this year or not, but he's going to have a year where he puts up 8-9 wins. and he'll silence all the haters for a year, and then he'll go back and he'll be like a 5-win player. People will be like, oh, he's kind of disappointing, he's supposed to be generational. It's like, dude's 23 years old and he's one of the best players in baseball already. Like, when in terms of just raw talent, he might be top 3 or 4 in the entire game. So yeah, Julio, there's absolutely more to his game. I don't get the people who are like, this is just who he is at 23 years old.
Too early to say that.
No.
Absolutely too early to say that. Julio at 23 years old has already been worth 15.5 F4. Steamer says that, or they're projecting him to pretty much get back to who he was in 2023 and 2022. I don't think he's at least that guy, right? And I still believe what I believed coming out of 2023, that he can go win an MVP at any given time. Any year. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
I mean, like, just statistically speaking, we're like 3 years away from Julio even entering his prime. So yeah, dude's a freak. I'm not worried about it at all. He's going to break out at some point. I don't know if it's going to be this year, like I said. But if it's not this year, even, I'm still not panicking. I'm still not, changing my expectation, because guess what? Next year he'll be 24. So yeah, until he's like 27, 28, 29, and he's just been consistently this guy, I'm going to believe there's another step, another gear that he can get to.
100%. All right. Well, that concludes my list. So now it's time for Colby to list his top 5 MLB hats. Then we're also going to unveil our latest giveaway in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. It is Top 5 Tuesday. I just gave you my top 5 breakout candidates for the Mariners in 2025. Now it's time for Colby to give you his top 5 hats in the MLB. But before we get into that, actually, let's unveil our latest giveaway. Colby, what do we have planned here for our lovely listeners? It's been a while since we did a giveaway.
Yeah, so it's our standard giveaway, right? We're giving away some autograph cards with a little bit of a twist mixed into the pot here. But essentially, when we hit certain benchmarks, we're going to give away a prize pack, right? So the goal is obviously to increase our subscriber count, but also to give you guys some really cool stuff. So at 12,150, which we're already past. So this card will definitely be given away. We will give away this Mitch Haniger autograph card. I don't know how well you can see that. It's young Mitch Haniger, college Mitch Haniger auto. So
is he wearing a Brewers uniform in that?
He is drafted by the Brewers. That's how old the card is. Yeah. So yeah, at 12,200. So we're about 25 away. Somebody will walk away with this Andres Munoz autograph card. I don't know if you can see that well or not.
Yeah, we can see it.
At 12.3K, this is where things get a little bit interesting. Not only will you win this autographed Mike Cameron card, could you win this autographed Mike Cameron card, you'll also win a gift certificate of sorts from one Ty Day Gonzalez of $25 at Simply Seattle. Now, we'll talk about that when we talk to the winners of these cards. 12.4K, you're going to get, this is probably one of my favorites. I haven't even taken the protective tape off, but this is a numbered Victor Robles auto card at 12.4.
Damn.
So there's that. Then at 12.5, if we get there, the grand prize winner will receive a $50 Simply Seattle gift card and this lovely autographed Cal Raleigh card So how do you guys enter? It's incredibly simple. All you have to do, 2 steps. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. So if you're not already, go ahead and subscribe right now. Just leave a comment on any of the videos that we post between now and giveaway day, which is right now scheduled to be on or about December 2nd. The contest will end December 1st. All the terms and conditions will be in the description of this episode. So, give it a look, and it's very simple. Subscribe and just leave a comment on any of the videos over the next couple of weeks, and you will be entered to win. We will pick one comment at random from a random video to give these away, however many tiers we reach. But somebody's definitely walking away with the Mitch Haniger autograph card. We're only 20 some odd subs away from the Munoz card, and so on and so forth. So all you have to do, subscribe and leave a comment. If you're already subscribed, just leave a comment on any video and you could win one of these prizes. Again, terms and conditions in the description.
That's right. All right. Top 5 MLB hats, Colby. What are you doing with this? You doing all time? You doing current?
There are so many good hats all time that labeling, knocking it down to 5 is kind of hard. And there's also so many great like alternate hats, but that are current. But again, you have to start to knock down some of these rules and give yourself a fighting chance here. So what I went with is these are hats that have to be worn by the major league team, on-field hats with some regularity, right? They don't have to be the everyday hats, but they have to be worn more than,
So no City Connects?
No, City Connects are regular, enough. They are in the rotation enough. What won't be on the list are things and because we're a Mariners podcast, the Seattle Steelhead hat, which I love. They only wear it once a year sometimes. But
they did wear it this year just without the uniforms.
I know.
Yeah.
But so the Seattle Steelhead classic hat, those I'm not going to count. I'm not going to count any of the once a year throwbacks, even though my favorite is the 90s Seattle S. That's my favorite hat. That's not going to be on this list because they're not worn regularly enough. So pretty much you have to wear it as much as you would wear your City Connect, I think is the line that I drew. So coming in at number 5, that's pretty much it. Just a current hat that is worn as part of the regular rotation of a current major league team. Coming in at number 5, this is kind of an interesting category. It is, for me, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? Just the blue LA hat. And this is the only hat like this on my list because most major league hats are simply navy or blue or the team color, whatever it is, and a letter or 2, right? The Yankees, the Red Sox, the Tigers with the old English D, those are all great hats. They're great hats, but I don't want all the hats to be the same and just be that boring basic hat. So the Dodgers are my favorite hat of just the, one solid color with 1 or 2 letters. That's my favorite hat. So that's on the list at number 5. But if you want to say the Dodger, or you want to say the Yankees and the Navy with the N and the Y, iconic. The Boston with the red B, that's iconic. I get it. I understand it. And those probably just in a pure list, those are probably so iconic they have to be on your list. But I'm going with something a little different here. And so I only wanted to pick one of those type of hats where it's just, very basic, but very clean. And I went with the Dodgers. It's my favorite. One thing that's incredibly tough about this list, though, even though it's just for fun and it's really not that hard of a list anyways, but it's kind of hard to separate the hat from the uniform, as a whole, So I am willing to admit that the Dodgers' entire kit is so clean that I might be overweighing that versus just their hat, because the blue with the white, it's a great uniform, and maybe that's overshadowing the hat a little or overpowering my thoughts on the hat. But again, just because I wanted to do just one traditional baseball hat, I'm going with the Dodgers in this one.
I mean, it's hard to argue against that, though, because of the iconography of the Dodgers hat, right? And how important that is to the culture of LA and how that spans beyond that. And I mean, same thing can be said about the Yankees or the Red Sox. Yeah. But
the Yankees in particular. Yeah.
I think you can make a strong argument, though, that the Dodgers hat is the most iconic hat ever. Sure.
It's up. It's Dodgers or Yankees, I think. But But yeah, so number 4 on my list, Seattle Mariners City Connect hats. Big fan of the Trident, right?
Yep.
So
Trident side, baby.
Yep. I had to use that one because it's part of the rotation, right? They wear it regularly enough, barely. But that one I am able to separate the uniform, the whole kit from the hat because I love the tops. I do not like the pants. I've been very consistent about this. Look like Batman with the yellow belt, the utility belt, and the black pants. Looks horrible, right? So I love the jersey, love the hat with the black bill, the two-tone black bill, and you have the kind of royal blue, navy blue. What I don't know exactly what blue it is, but you have the gold trident that just really pops. I love that hat. I love the tridents. It's probably my favorite logo, although I like the whole aesthetic of the early 90s S probably a little bit more. But again, Mariner City Connects top 5 hat. I love the hat. It's two-toned, which is a little bit different. You don't see, too many hats like that in Major League Baseball. Although you do see it more with the City Connects, which are going to feature pretty prominently on the rest of this list. So there you go. Seattle Mariners City Connect hat, number 4 on my list. Number 3 on my list. How about the Tampa Bay Rays City Connects with the?
I'm so glad you put those on there.
With the bridges that make the Ray. Like I was like, oh man, I'm a big fan of Tampa Bay. I like their normal hats with just the T and the B, and it's kind of that purplish blue color and then they have like kind of the baby blue outline. Love those hats. I love the sunburst hats. Like I'm a big fan of the Rays, like and just their whole uniform, the old school Devil Rays hats. I love those too. So again, could be a little biased here, but I really like those City Connects. Just the whole kit is great, but I really love the hat. The hat I think is tops. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So yeah, coming in at number 4,
2.
Sorry. I wrote these backwards. Coming in at number 2, the Milwaukee Brewers standard. It's a baseball glove that's made out of an M and a B, and it's just kind of that cool blue. Like it's that really like not navy blue. It's lighter than navy blue, but it's not, quite royal blue. The color is great. I love the logo. It's both classic and iconic, and yet very well done in like the modern era. So I really like the Milwaukee Brewers and the creativity they have there. It is just, number or it is just, one solid color and 2 letters like the Dodgers hat, but it's different because it makes something that is, cool. It's a baseball glove made out of an M and a B. Like I'm a sucker for that. That's cool. It's a cool idea. And so, yeah, I really appreciate that they did that. And, I honestly, the older Brewers hat where they had the hop going underneath the M, that's a great hat too. Mm-hmm. So like the Brewers have really good hats. I'll give them that. Yeah. And then coming in last but not least here, just my favorite hat in general. And I do really like the uniform. So can be a little difficult. It's the Miami Marlins City Connects.
Ooh, wow.
With the red and kind of the baby blue and the crown. Like I love the Miami Marlins.
I thought you were going to put the Blue Jays on here. The powdered blue, like the hats that go with the powdered blue uniforms.
Yeah, with the leaf.
No, I think it has like the regular Blue Jays logo on it, but it's like navy with isn't it two-tone? It's like navy with the powdered blue on the bill.
The powdered blue bill. Yeah. I like the Blue Jays Canada Day fair.
Yeah.
But I
that's like the Steelheads uniform, so they only wear it once. Yeah.
But I think my favorite Blue Jays logo is either just the pure maple leaf or it's the Roy Halladay era Blue Jays.
Really?
They tried to do like the silver and the black
thing.
And the
silver. Yeah.
I was like 10, 11, 12 when they tried that. So, it's the same thing with your BS reason why you think that Toby is the best Spider-Man.
Because he is.
Well, no, just pure nostalgia and putting on blinders to everything that happened that's better afterwards.
Our comment section will say otherwise.
Well, I don't think so, but then again, I've never said that the comment section are great when it comes to discerning.
Let us know comment section.
Spider-Man.
Who's the best Spider-Man? Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield.
Best Spider-Man, best Peter Parker, best combo.
Just all of it.
Okay. But yeah, so like obviously Major League Baseball hats are usually very simple, yet they almost all work. There are very few like logos that I've despised over. Like I don't like the Marlins when they were like the orange with the M. You know what I mean? The early Giancarlo Stanton era. Hate those. Hate those. Don't like
Disgusting.
those. Yeah, but I like the Diamondbacks with the purple hat in particular.
Yep.
I really like that logo. I didn't know they wore it enough to be considered. That's kind of feels more like a throwback thing. So I didn't know if that was enough. I know every team wears their City Connects enough to be considered. I love now. This is where I was able to differentiate. Like I really like the Padres City Connects, but when I remove the hat from that, I'm like, it doesn't work as well as a standalone hat. Like when it's together, it looks really good. As a standalone hat, it's still fine, but it's just not one of my top 5. So I don't know if they actually ever wore these or not, but the Angels, when they had like the angel wing coming out of the A, I think that was like mid 90s, maybe early 90s. That's pretty cool. I like the Blue Jays a lot. What they do, they're probably, when they have like the logo, the actual Blue Jay logo, that's probably top 10. I like what that does a lot. Not a huge fan of the Orioles. It's fine. It's just kind of basic and boring for me. So yeah, there are a few hats that I don't really love. But for the most part, I feel like there's one thing Major League Baseball gets right pretty consistently. It's the hats. They're usually that's usually because they play it very safe and they're basic, but sometimes simple is better. And I really like the most of Major League Baseball's hats that are currently being worn. And yeah, there's iconography that you have to try and take into account. There's just pure look and it's very simply like, what hat would I most like to own? And so I'm not going to, rock the Tampa Bay Rays City Connect jersey. Would I wear their hat? Yeah, I would. That's a cool hat. So it's, lots of different ways you can look at this. If you tell me the Yankees had the best hat because it's so iconic, I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Sure.
So yeah, let us know. What's your favorite hat? It was a pretty straightforward list, but also like so impossible because you're like, ooh, that's a good hat. Ooh, that's man, that hat. Am I going to do throwback hats? Because I'm a sucker for the Seattle Steelhead S. So yeah, just had to start drawing lines and all of that. But
setting parameters as you do.
As I do. Yes. Where more parameters or fewer parameters than usual, but somehow more restrictive than usual because there are a lot of throwback hats that I really enjoy, including like the Brooklyn Dodgers, which I do have a hat, the Brooklyn Dodgers hat. I love that B.
Multiple people in the comment section have asked, why are you wearing a Red Sox hat? And then it hurts me every single time someone asks that.
It's the Brooklyn. You guys might have noticed the 42 that's on the side here. B hat, blue and gold with a number 42 on it.
It hurts my soul.
People. Let's think. Also, the Kansas City Monarchs are like the pinstripe white hat with the and the red pinstripe. Like I love the Monarchs hat, but again, not qualified for this list. So yeah, hats are great. I love hats. So picking just 5 is a little bit tough, and you don't have quite as many choices as you do at the minor league level, which is on the wheel. I have a feeling Ty's going to end up doing that one next week. That's my guess. And there are a lot of fun hats in minor league baseball. So that'll be a fun list, whoever gets to do it.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Ty Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.